What if the secret to saving an ancient tradition wasn't locked away in a museum, but was actually inside a video game? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating study that asks that exact question. Can a role playing game be a powerful tool for keeping cultural heritage alive?
This is a massive challenge facing cultures all over the world. How do you grab the attention of a generation that grew up with screens? I mean, you're competing with, well, everything. So, how do you pass on centuries of wisdom in a way that actually connects and sticks with them?
All right, so let's get right into it. The story really kicks off with a conflict that's as old as time, but with a very modern twist: tradition versus technology.
To really get this, we're going to head over to the Isan region of Thailand. Here, you'll find a set of ancient customs called the Heap Sipsong rites, and they're basically the ethical foundation of the entire culture. But just like with so many traditions, keeping them alive and relevant for young people is a constant uphill battle.
And this slide really hits the nail on the head. On one side, you've got the old school ways of learning, books, lectures, sitting in a classroom. And on the other side, you have the world where so many young people actually live and breathe, a world of interactive games, social media, and just constant digital engagement. It's a battle for attention. And let's be honest, tradition is often losing.
So, a team of researchers in Thailand looked at this gap and thought, how do we bridge it? Their solution was to turn ancient culture into a series of playable quests. Let's take a look at how they pulled it off.
And here it is. This is what they came up with. They designed and built a role-playing game, an RPG, called Asan Traveler. The entire point of this game was to create this interactive, immersive space where players could experience those Heap Seep Song traditions for themselves just by playing a game.
Now, this wasn't some app they just threw together over a weekend. Oh no, the team followed a really deliberate 5-step process. They started by gathering cultural data right from the source, local monks and village elders, to make sure it was authentic. Then they designed the game concept, built a prototype with a tool called RPG Maker MZ, tested it out with actual students, and then fine-tuned it based on their feedback.
So what's it like to play? Well, players get a map of the world. From there, they can explore different areas and pick up quests. And each of these quests is built around a specific cultural story or event from those Heatsapong rites. And this is really the heart of the experience. Instead of just reading about this stuff in a dry textbook, players are actually immersed in the culture through storytelling. They're talking to characters, they're learning about rituals through dialogue, and they're making choices in the story. The game even has little quizzes and reflection prompts to make sure the lessons really sink in. Okay, so they built a really cool game with a noble purpose. But the million-dollar question is, did it actually work? Did the students learn anything, or was it just a fun distraction? And how on earth do you scientifically grade something like that? To figure that out, the researchers used a standardized framework, something called the Information Systems Success Model, or ISSM for short. It sounds complicated, but it's basically a rigorous academic way to measure how successful a system, in this case an educational video game, really is. The model might sound complex, but you can really just think of it like a simple report card. It grades 4 key things: system quality, pretty simple, does the game run well without crashing? Information quality, is the cultural info accurate and easy to understand? User satisfaction, was it fun? And then, the most important one, net benefits. Did the players feel like they actually learned something useful, and did it make them more interested in the culture? So the game was built, the students all played it, and the surveys were collected. What did the results say? It's time to check the report card for Isan Traveler. And we're not talking about a tiny focus group here. The study involved a total of 454 undergraduate students. That's a big sample size, which gives a whole lot of weight to their findings. And the results? They were overwhelmingly positive. On a 5-point scale, the game got high ratings across the board. But check this out. Net benefits actually scored the highest of all, with a 4.61. That means the players' own feeling of how much useful stuff they learned and how much it sparked their interest in the culture was the strongest outcome of the whole experiment. That's huge. The researchers' own conclusion really says it all loud and clear. This wasn't just a fluke. Their findings suggest that when you build an RPG on a foundation of real, meaningful stories, you can get very real, substantial cultural learning outcomes. So what's the big takeaway here? What does this amazing experiment mean for the future of preserving cultures everywhere? Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
The most important thing to remember here is that this study is about way more than just one game in Thailand. What it really gives us is a blueprint, a proven method that other cultures around the globe could potentially use to engage their own youth and pass down their unique heritage.
And the research even gives us the secret sauce, the core ingredients for success. 3 key design principles really stood out. First, the cultural content has to be king. It needs to be clear, relevant, and totally authentic. Second, the gameplay has to be smooth and responsive to keep players hooked. And third, on a technical level, the game just has to work. It's got to be stable and easy to use to build trust and avoid frustration.
All of this leaves us with one final, really provocative thought. We've seen that this approach can work wonders for teaching complex traditions. So the question for all of us is, what other stories, what other forgotten histories, or what other parts of our own cultures could we bring back to life just by turning them into a game?